So, welcome to the second episode of Learn to Grow sessions, and I'm going to talk about specifically for the JAIIB aspirants who are going to appear in the exam in November 2026. Let me show you something that you probably have seen a lot of times during your work at your branch or offices or wherever you are. If I tell you what they are, basically you will answer in simple words that, well, these are just numbers. But what if I tell you that these numbers are not mere numbers? They basically tells you a story. Now, what story? They basically tells you that who owns the business and whom does it owe, how much it has earned, what is its cost to run the business, and where the money that has come into the system actually went. So, if we take the gist of all these important storyline, then we will get the movie about the whole business, and the movie tells us how strong the business is financially. So that's the story that this simple sheet of paper is telling us. And this whole paper 3, this actually runs around this small paper sheet. So if you are really going to understand that what's going in between, what's at the backstage, and what really is influencing this sheet of paper, then I am pretty sure that you will have no problem either in paper 3 for the JIB exam or in daily banking works that you are going to face during your tenure at any branch or bank offices. So welcome to the new episode of Learn to Grow. And in this episode, specifically for the JAIIB applicants, I'm going to give you a brief idea about the most crucial paper that may be defining the make or break for your JIB exam this year. Now let's start with a story. Suppose you have this financial sheet for two different companies. One company is there in Germany and the other one is in India. Now, both the companies' financial sheet or let's say balance sheet says that both of them are having an asset of 1000 crore. And both of them on a particular date has booked a profit of 100 crore. Now, if you have certain amount of money to invest, then in which company are you going to be very much interested in? Definitely, you first of all look at around the profitability. Now, in this case, both the companies are having same amount of asset and same amount of profit. So what will be your conclusion? Well, I'm telling you in simple word that you cannot simply conclude on the figures those are available on the balance sheet. Because in one case, the company is in Germany. So their standard may be different from what we are calculating for our companies. So before judging any company or its balance sheet or any component thereof, the most important thing you need to remember is that who is actually setting up the rules and what are the rules to give such numbers. Now, if you are pretty clear about it, then only you can compare between the balance sheets of the company which is in Germany and the company which is in India. So the thing is that there is a story that is balance sheet and then there is a rule and that is set by certain bodies, certain standards in different jurisdiction. So in this paper 3, we are going to talk all about this. So do not worry. Just listen to the story that I'm telling you now. Now, if I confine myself within India even, if I ask 10 companies to prepare the balance sheet component of their financial statement, that might be having a different problem because the companies, they might treat different aspects in different time period. For example, they might have a different method to calculate their depreciation. They might have different method to recognize their revenue and profit. But as a whole, they will all try to maximize their profit in such a way that their financial statement shows that they are profitable compared to the companies in the same business, so that people might get interested in investing into them. But the question is that which one will you accept? And there lies the question of principles, uniformity, and compatibility. That means at the same time, all these things should be prepared under the same rule and it should be uniform throughout India. And the compatibility comes when you are going to compare the same thing with a company from another accounting territory, that is from a foreign country. So basically, to keep all the financial statements uniform and compatible to the world standard, we needed a principle. And in the year 1977, the Accounting Standard Board, the ASB, that was there for all these accounting related principles, they have introduced a very important body, that is ICAI. And that is ultimately guiding India's accounting standards, accounting principles, and accounting management today. And as on today, India has adopted a system that is called Accounting Standard for India, that is IND AS. And only through that accounting standard, we are going to prepare and analyze the balance sheet and financial statements and all the other important aspects related to this for different companies, for different bodies, etc. So remember three things: the Accounting Standard Board, ASB, ICAI, which was established in 1977, and IND AS, that is Indian Accounting Standard. So these three are going to be very crucial for your understanding this whole concept of paper 3. So let's move on to the next segment. Okay, after all these things, the basic question remains the same. Why do the companies or even we, the investors, need accounting? Well, let me tell you a simple story. Suppose a shopkeeper at your area, he has 5 lakh rupees. And out of that 5 lakh rupees, he has taken 3 lakh and gone to the wholesale market and purchased goods worth 3 lakh rupees. And then he came back and after a month, he calculated that even if he hadn't sold all the goods, मतलब पूरा अभी नहीं बिका हुआ है, लेकिन उसके बाद भी उन्होंने 4 लाख रुपए का इनकम कर लिया है बेच के. तो he has purchased goods worth 3 lakh and he has sold that goods for around 4 lakh. So in simple, he has made a profit of rupees 1 lakh. But guys, there lies the catch. Now in this period, you have calculated only the values of the goods at which you have purchased and at which you have sold. But what you didn't consider was what was the rent of the room and what was the cost for electricity for the one person he kept at his dukan to serve the goods at your doorstep. Now that 5 lakh rupees that might have an interest if that would have been kept in a bank in form of term deposit. Now he has to account for that because he's not getting that anymore. So in simple, even if you want to define the profit as the difference between the sell price and the cost price, the profit is not that simple. So look at another shop which has done all the same, values are all the same, but he has taken into account the cost for electricity, the amount he is paying to the employee that he's keeping, the transportation cost, the maintenance cost, and the goods he is keeping at his shop. And after that, his profit may look like, say, rupees 10,000 in that 1 month. So, as an investor, you are more prone to be attracted towards 1 lakh profit. But the story is different. Why? Because there are two different accounting standards and two different parameters that have been considered for the same kind of business with the same parameter values, but different standards for accounting those parameters. Now, there lies the catch, and that's why you need a good accounting to reflect all the things that you are going through. And that accounting standard needs to be as per the principle of IND AS, and it should be uniform for both the shopkeeper and it should be compatible to the world standard as well as the Indian standard. So that's where accounting comes into play, and that's where accounting standard comes into play. Now, as we have moved on from the basics of accounting, why is it required, to the part, the IND AS. Now, let me tell you the story. Why was the IND AS so much important for us? Because from 1947, the day when we got our independence, till 1977, our focus was only that in all the regions of India, there should be a uniform accounting standard so that Government of India and the Income Tax Department, they can monitor all the companies in the same standard and principle. But in 1990s, something happened, and that is called LPG reform in India. Now that LPG is not the gas cylinder you were talking about, that is liberalization, privatization and globalization. And this is so crucial for India's economic development that we are presently seeing today. Now, LPG basically means that the Indian market has gone to some extent open to the world, and Indian companies now can get their investors from abroad. Now, why is this important? Because when you are doing business within your own country as well as abroad, there are two important aspects to it. Number one, that you need to have an uniform accounting principle in your country, which was then guided by the ASB, that the Accounting Standard Board of India. At the same time, you need to have an accounting standard that is also compatible to the international standard at that time. And that's where the requirement of Ind AS come into play. But was it mandatory for the companies? Yes, that is mandatory binding on the company, and Supreme Court has given this verdict in the year 2007. And since then, Ind AS has become the benchmark for the accounting in India. So just remember this part, that Ind AS is binding on all the companies, that all the companies in India needs to obey to that. And Indian tax authorities also takes into account that all the companies are complying the Ind AS standard. So this part is very important for your preparation and understanding what actually are you facing in this paper 3. Now आप शायद ये पूछ सकते हो कि एक JIB का पेपर 3 पास करने के लिए हमको इतना सारा स्टोरी क्यों सुनना पड़ रहा है? Well, the problem is that if you go by the papers of the IIBF itself, it tells that in JAIB pass percentage is around 7 to 15%. But I'm not worrying about that low amount of pass percentage. As I'm more worried about that whenever you miss a question, sometimes you do not have any idea about that. Because either you haven't gone through that portion, or you have gone through the paper, the portion itself, but you couldn't connect it with any topic or any subtopic or anything in real life. And that's where you forgot everything from that particular segment. So आप अगर किसी question का attempt नहीं कर रहे हो, फिर भी आपको ये पता होना चाहिए from which part that particular question came from. अगर इस तक आपको पता होगा, then I am pretty sure that you are going to score more than 70% in your JIB exam. So why this storyline was so pertinent? Because all the modules in paper 3 are basically telling this simple storyline. Now, whenever a transaction happens, the first thing you need to do is that you need to record it. Now, think of a simple debit credit transaction at your branch. So, whenever that transaction happens, you have to make a voucher for that, and that is the record itself. And in digital form, you have to make a transaction ID for that. That is also a record for that. Then it enters the book. The next day, you are going to find out your transaction records. You are going to find out that particular transaction in that record book. In the GL of that particular account, you are going to have a reflection of that. So it is not only recorded, now it has gone on to the books of the banks also. Now, based on the values of those books, we prepare the financial statement. So from the occurrence of the transaction to the financial statement preparation, there is a flow. First, it is recorded, then it is entered into the books, and then based on that particular record, financial statement is created. Now, after the whole year of these financial transactions and records and their entry into the books, the financial statement is prepared. Now, it's time that as per the Ind AS, which of those items are going to be recognized, measured, and presented to anybody to reflect your financial performance during that period. And to understand the financial performance, the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats, the SWOT analysis, we need to go through the financial statements. And as a whole, these steps are all about paper 3. So if you just understand each module, what is the story behind it and in which part of this long chain does it belong, it will be very easy for you to remember and understand all about paper 3. Now, for example, let's expand the storyline. The first part, what I've told, that whenever a transaction happens, you must have a record for that. Now, that specifically is the story of module A, which is all about accounting principles and the processes. Now, it talks about double entry, it talks about journal, it talks about ledger, it talks about trial balance, it talks about depreciation, it talks about rectification and bank accounting. So these parts are basically talking about the process in which we are recording each transaction. So that is very important for you to remember, because that's all about the module A. That is very important. And all these topics I have told you, the double entry, the journal, the ledger, these are the important topics. And later in this video, I am going to share a weightage of all the subtopics. Those are included in the JAIB syllabus for the paper 3. And if there is a weightage of above 7, you must prepare that portion with more focus compared to the topics or subtopics which are carrying a weightage of less than 7. Now coming into the paper 3 module B, as I have told that whenever you are making a transaction happen, then you have to record it and then you have to put it into the books. That's gone in your part A. Now the third part is that based on the book record, you have to prepare your financial statements. And that's where paper 3's module B comes into play. It talks about the balance sheet, the PL statement, the cash flow, the banking account statement, notes to the account, which you may find in the balance sheet if you go through ever. Then there is Basel III disclosure, which talks about the risk weightage. And at last, it has to be tallied with the core banking system. That is the CBS. So this part is basically taking into account all the financial transactions and their records and book entries and convert them into the financial statement. So that is the gist of module B of the paper 3. It is kind of a storyline. In module B, there is nothing that is not related to module A. But what happens is that whenever you are studying without any plan, you cannot correlate each and every term to the other modules and to the other papers. So in our storyline, we have done a transaction and we have recorded it and entered into the books. That's gone module A. In module B, based on that book records, we are making a financial statement that takes into account everything. And we are preparing what? Balance sheet. We are preparing cash flow statement. We are preparing PL statements. We are preparing the Basel III disclosure, which is about risk weightage. Then we are preparing the banking account statement and the core banking system. So that's gone in your part 2. And whatever things I have told you, whatever subtopics I have told you, just mark those in your syllabus. They are going to be very, very crucial for your preparation. And then comes, whenever you have a financial statement in front of you, there are two parts of it. One, the company itself analyzes which part do I need to continue likewise and which part do I need to improve. And the same is also imperative for the investor who are going to invest on that. So what are they basically? Ratio, interest, annuity, YTM. एक कॉपी लेना और इस टर्म को ठीक ठाक तरीके से नोट करते रहना, because that is going to be very important for you. Again, I am saying all these: ratio, interest, annuity, bond, YTM, duration, leverage, WACC, capital budgeting, working capital, derivatives, and forex. Now, all these terms are very important. Write down in your copy and never forget to study all these. But whenever you are studying these things, just remember you are only building a story for your paper 3. That is how a transaction affects the financial statement and ultimately the investment into and out of the company itself. So this third part is mostly talking about financial management. इसको manage कर पाओगे आप तो आपका जो company है वो financially better perform करेगा and it will attract better investment. And at the last part it is about taxation and budgeting. मतलब हर एक कंपनी का एक बजट होता है और बजट के बारे में आप अगर बात करोगे तो आपको टैक्सेशन के बारे में भी थोड़ा कुछ नॉलेज रहना चाहिए. एंड दिस मॉड्यूल डी टॉक्स अबाउट दिस पार्ट ओनली. सो जस्ट रिमेंबर 3 इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग्स बिफोर मूविंग ऑन टू द मॉड्यूल डी इटसेल्फ: द टैक्स, द जीएसटी एंड द कॉस्टिंग. और कॉस्टिंग के अंदर 2 टाइप का कॉस्टिंग आता है. एक आता है कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कॉस्टिंग और एक आता है प्रोसेस कॉस्टिंग. यू नीड टू रिमेंबर बोथ ऑफ दैट. आई एम गोइंग टू गेट इनटू द डीपर एनालिसिस in some later videos. Just for the time being, remember these 2 things: process costing and contract costing. Then there is variance analysis, break even, PV ratio, and budgeting. Now all these things are important, but the terms I have just told you are more important compared to the other parts. So whenever you are preparing for the module D, remember to prepare these terms with more focus compared to the other parts. So the last question at the end of this video, you should ask that how am I going to prepare for the paper 3? बात सिंपल है, अगर आप फॉर्मूला उठा लोगे, मेमोराइज करोगे और उसका न्यूमेरिकल्स ट्राई करोगे, then if you are lucky and if you are supernatural, then you will succeed. But most of us are not having supernatural powers like Spider-Man's, like Superman's. So what do I suggest for you to have a better preparation in this paper? Remember a formula, CFNA. Now what are they? C comes for concept. So first of all, you need to find a concept, that the storyline I'm giving you. The module A talks about a transaction and how is it recorded. The module B talks about its entry into the books. Module C talks about the analysis and the management after analysis. So this is part of storyline. And module D talks about the tax and budgeting. So our concept regarding paper 3 is very clear. Which concept comes from where? We are pretty clear. I am sure that no one is going to make a mistake regarding that. So अगर किसी सवाल का आंसर आपको आता नहीं है, फिर भी आपको पता है कि वो सवाल किस पोर्शन से पूछा गया है. Now that is very crucial. The part you are not master at, you need to know at least where does it come from. So concept उसी पार्ट का है. नेक्स्ट है आपका F यानी कि फॉर्मूला. तो हर एक पार्ट का एक फॉर्मूला होता है और वो जो फॉर्मूला है, they are also correlated, they values and measures something and they tells you another story. And I'm going to tell you all the stories regarding those formulas so that nobody among you are missing any formula or any statement that you can make based on that formula. Now, concept और formula लेके आपका जो काम बन सकता है वो है भूल जाना. But I'm not going to allow you that. By what? By the next part, that is N, numericals. That you need to do numericals based on those concepts and those formula. And after all, you need to apply that to an exam-like scenario. That is the application itself. So whenever you are studying this paper 3, just remember the most important part, the most important aspect of your preparation is the concept building. Then there is formula. Then there is using those formula and doing the numericals. And at last, mixing it up with case studies so that you can apply that in an exam. So that's all I had to tell you about the paper 3. Now I expect that from next time when you see a balance sheet, you just don't see the numbers in it. You see the story, what it is trying to tell you. Next time you are talking about an accounting standard, don't find out which clause or what is the definition. Find out the basic principle on which that particular story is written. Next time when you see a ratio, do not just see that as a ratio and remember it. Remember what does it diagnose about your business. So ratios are simply a diagnosis of your business. So if you can remember what are the interpretation of those ratios, you are basically diagnosing your business. How is it run? What are its strengths? What are its weaknesses? And all about the company's financial performance. And next time when you are going to take any financial decision, I want you to take those decisions based on numbers and the stories that are going to be told during your preparation of this paper 3. So just begin your preparation with full confidence. We are here to help you in every aspect. I am not here to tell you about the numericals or the MCQs or how to prepare that and the concepts only. I'm going to tell you all these by simple stories so that this doesn't become numbers to you. This become a story for you to remember and a story for you to carry into your exam hall, into your workplace, and into any situation where you have to take the decision by yourself. Now, thank you for watching this video so much, and I hope that it has served a very important message to you that how to prepare for the exam if you are talking about the accounting and financial systems. So last of all, an appeal to all of you, please share these videos and please subscribe to our channel and follow. And in the comment box below, please mention about any topics or subtopics or paper regarding this JIB exam that you feel that you are not feeling confident enough, so that we can get an idea about which portion is most required for you, and then we can also focus on that portion. After all these suggestions from me, you are going to pass the exam JIB, and not only pass, you are going to have first class with distinction, that is more than 70%. And for that, paper 3 is going to be a very crucial paper for you. If you can bring more than 60% in this paper, mark my words, you are not only passing or cracking the exam, you are going to get a first class in all possible way. So just focus on it and do not get nervous. You are going to be inside that 7 to 15% who pass every year this particular exam. So thank you and stay good with your study and your work.